We good to go?
Still setting up. You are live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hearst Castle. My name is Tracy. Thank you for joining me for the Castle to Coast Kids Junior Ranger program. We've got a lot of fun things in store for you. We're going to spend some time at Hearst Castle playing a fun game, and then we're going to go all the way down the coast to Monica at Morro Bay State Park, I believe. You're going to be learning about owls, one of my favorite birds. And let's check out this view here at Hearst Castle. Not too many people get this wonderful view, so thank you for joining me. We are on the 4th floor, standing on the balcony of the Celestial Suites. We are as close as one could be to the bell towers of Hearst Castle. The bell tower reaches 137 feet high in the air. We look out over. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. What do you think's out there? And the estate. Now, William Randolph Hearst built this home starting in 1920. Actually, he built the castle, he built 3 cottages, 2 pools over a span of 28 years. I love my job here at Hearst Castle. It's kind of like, oops, sorry, I kicked the tripod. It's kind of like being on a treasure hunt. So please come on this treasure hunt with me today. Have you ever played the game I Spy? I Spy is a visual game. It's a guessing game. There's going to be clues. We're going to look at the landscape. I'm going to ask you to guess the things I'm pointing you to. Oftentimes, this game is played with 2 or more people. Today, I'm going to play it with all of you out there, all my viewers. So let's get started. Let's turn this camera around one more time. Okay. We are looking south. This state park is on the central coast of California. And I spy something very tall and skinny. It's very slender. So look at the landscape out before you and just start calling out your guesses at the computer or the laptop or the tablet, or maybe you have a family member next to you. Play this game with them. I spy something tall and skinny. Okay, that's your first one. Next, I spy, and this is a clue, a second clue about the one object I want you to guess. I spy something green and fluffy. Do we have it yet? Did you get it? Did you call it out? I spy something natural that grows in the dirt. That's your third and last clue. And if you said palm tree, awesome. You are correct. These are called the Mexican fan palms. So that is the type of palm they are. They are tall and skinny and slender. They were planted about 100 years ago. So that is how tall that these palm trees called the Mexican fan palm, that's how tall they've grown. And like I said, they were planted in the 1920s. Let's see this historic photo I have for you. Here we go. This is an image from the mid-20s when they were planting the palm tree. So you could tell that the picture is old by the color, black and white or sepia toned. And look at how the palm tree was already a bit of a mature tree. It arrived here in a planter box And these men are going to plant the trees in the ground in front of one of the cottages. There's 3 cottages here that were built between 1920 and 23. Now, these Mexican fan palm trees or palms, they are important to a certain species of bird. And I hope one of those birds flies around so we can see it. I'm going to show you a picture of it in a second. It's black, it's white, it's got a red cap on its head. And a common characteristic you want to see when this bird flies around is these white flashes coming from its wing. Let's take a look. This bird, oh, I hear it right now. Oftentimes you hear it do its job before you see it. It's kind of like a pound, 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 pound. What could that be? What bird could be pounding on the tree with its beak? It might be a little far away for you to hear, but it is the acorn woodpecker, known in the Southwest and in the West. Anywhere where, many places where there is an abundance of acorns. This acorn woodpecker collects the acorns and stores them in the holes in the trees that they make. So you want to look for a bird that's black, and when it flies, it has white flashes on its wings and it has a red cap on its head, like you see. So the acorn woodpecker loves these palm trees. There's holes up and down the tree, and it's called a pantry because the bird uses it for storage. I can hear that acorn woodpecker right now. Okay, let's move over. Next one. I spy something billowy and fluffy. I spy something in the distance, billowy and fluffy. That's your first clue. I spy in the distance something long, and it's along the horizon line. The horizon line for this spot is where the ocean meets the sky. I spy the marine layer, which is a layer of clouds that comes in off the ocean. And there's the beautiful Pacific Ocean out before us. The Pacific Ocean plays a major role in the building of Hearst Castle. So William Randolph Hearst, media mogul. Mogul is a successful businessman in many different types of businesses. As for William Randolph Hearst, who built Hearst Castle, it was newspapers and magazines. He was a publisher. He owned radio stations. He was distributing the news to the nation. He was also a Hollywood movie producer. And he's famous for building this house on the central coast of California. A lot of the materials for building and a lot of his art collection, he loved art and paintings and sculptures, would come in through this deep water bay. And there was a pier built. Have you ever walked out on a pier before? There was a pier built out there that boats would come into the deep water bay and they would unload at a dock. So let me see if I have that image for you. Gosh, I hope so. I almost feel as if I can't find it. It's lost in all my pictures. So in the meantime, I'm going to share this picture with you. So instead of showing you the pier where the boat would come in and drop off the art, I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you a sketch. A sketch can be art. This was a sketch done by Julia Morgan, the architect of Hearst Castle, a famous Californian, a San Francisco born woman, born in the late 1800s. and she built Hearst Castle starting in 1920. This was her project number 503. Quite unusual to have a female architect in the early 1900s. And this is her sketch. So we are actually standing right now. We are standing on the 4th floor. Now, this sketch was early because things had changed. There was a 4th floor added. We do not see it in this sketch. We are on the 4th floor. All right. Let's pan across. Actually. So we're looking down on the main terrace down there. That's Casa del Mar, House of the Sea. It's one of 3 guest cottages. We can see the roof, the chimneys, named for its views of the ocean. I spy something brown. Out in the distance, I spy something brown. Something brown. It's natural. It's a natural feature in the landscape. I spy something that looks like it has a road. I spy something that looks like a road. What are we looking at? We are looking at, and you can call out the answer. Are you going to say a ranch? That's all ranch land out there. That's the Hearst family ranch, and that is the road that one would take here to Hearst Castle. And that road connects to Highway 1, Pacific Coast Highway. Have you ever driven the Pacific Coast Highway? And if you were on that highway, you would see Hearst Castle way up on a hill. And that is the road that it takes to come up here. That road's about 5 miles long, and it weaves around the hills and the curves around the Hearst family ranch. And that ranch was first purchased in 1865. It was purchased by George Hearst, father of William Randolph Hearst, the media mogul. That's George Hearst right there. He was a mining man, and he thought he would try his luck in California during the gold rush. So he came from Missouri, where he was born. And he got rich in the 1850s, and it was with silver, not with gold, like many people were getting rich with. Now that road travels through the Hearst family ranch, and another important bird in this area has quite a long wingspan and eats carrion. Do you know what carrion is? Can you all say that with me? Carrion. And carrion, here we go. The turkey vulture. The turkey vulture eats carrion, which basically is dead animal carcass. They can smell it for miles. The turkey vulture is an amazing bird, and they're kind of like the cleanup crew. They clean up a lot of animals that have died, and they clean them up so they are not there any longer. They're kind of like nature's garbage truck. Now, turkey vultures love to fly over the ranch out there. I found that photo of the pier by the San Simeon Bay in the ocean. That's where the boats would dock in the early 1900s and bring materials to build Hearst Castle, and bring some of the art collection that William Randolph Hearst would purchase and bring to his home. And we could see the pier extending out into the ocean. We are at the far end of the pier in the water. We're looking in towards the land. So Hearst Castle will be somewhere up in this direction. So we're pretty high up in the mountains. So things would get loaded onto carts with wheels. And those carts would go this way along the track and either go into that warehouse or go into that warehouse before it was put on a truck and brought up. Well, we've seen the road. Brought up that road here. I spy something blue. I spy something blue. Oh, it's nestled in there. That's right. I spy something watery. It's the pool. It's the Neptune pool. We can look out, we could see the Santa Lucia mountain range here. This is a coastal mountain range. On the central coast, I can see a turkey vulture flying out there. They have a really interesting defense mechanism. I just learned this not too long ago. I think it's really cool, but the turkey vulture will actually throw up a little bit if it gets scared. It uses it as a defense mechanism. It'll throw up at another creature if it gets scared and disturbed. Quite fascinating stuff. As much as it sounds gross, fascinating. So we are 1,600 feet above sea level. We are almost 137 feet high in the sky. I spy something very tall with spires on it. Cone-shaped objects like pyramids. I spy something with several arches on it. Do you spy that too? It's the bell tower. And in that bell tower are 18 bronze carillon bells. They're actually 18 in each tower for a total of 36. And some of the larger bronze bells, they have poetry on them, poetry inscriptions. And I'll leave you with this poem before we send you down the hill. Some of the larger bells say, ring in the valiant man, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Sounds like a beautiful poem to me. And below the bell towers is one of the most beautiful rooms at Hearst Castle. There's 115 rooms in Hearst Castle. 38 of them are bedrooms. William Randolph Hearst slept in one of the rooms, and he was quite famous. He knew other famous people like politicians and Hollywood actors and athletes and artists and writers. The room that is beyond that arch that we see is called the Celestial Suite. Or one guest said it was like staying in a jewel case. Look at all the gold embellishment, the gold leaf, the gold accents. And that's why she said it was like staying in a jewel case. And my friends, our time is up here at Hearst Castle on the 4th floor, overlooking the Hearst Ranch and the Pacific Ocean and San Simeon Deepwater Bay. And I hope y'all had a good time playing I Spy with me. And you're going to have a lot of fun with Monica, learning about my favorite bird, owls.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. I had fun playing I Spy with you. I loved it. And I love how you were able to see so much from the top of that bell tower there, overlooking beautiful Hearst property, over the beautiful Central Coast, even though you couldn't see the ocean. I thought it was gorgeous. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Monica, and I am an interpreter for California State Parks. And we are about 30-ish miles south of where Tracy is, and I'm at Morro Bay State Park. And Tracy was saying earlier that it looks like I have snow in the background, but it's just the reflection of Morro Bay, part of the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to give you a little view here. There's Morro Rock in the background, one of the iconic landmarks of this area. And I'm overlooking Morro Bay right now. Well, like Tracy said, today I wanted to share with you a little bit about one of my favorite birds too, owls. I think owls are super, super cool. And the great part about owls, and especially the owl that we are going to talk about today, is that it's not only found here on the Central Coast where Tracy and I are, it's found all over the world. So you might have seen one in your own backyard or your neighborhood or places that you've traveled before. So hopefully this is a bird that we all recognize and maybe we have seen at least once in our life, or maybe eventually we will. So the owl that we're going to be talking about today is something called a great horned owl. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what the great horned owl looks like. Check that out. Wow. So this is our great horned owl, the very cool owl that we'll be talking about today. We can find these in Morro Bay State Park and all along the central coast of California and pretty much all over the US and even in Canada and Mexico. So these are some of the most widespread types of owls that are out there. They can live in all sorts of different habitats, whether it's in forests, mountains, coastal areas like here, deserts. They're very adaptable to all these different environments. So chances are you probably have some nearby where you live, depending on where you're watching from. So the great horned owl. Why do you think it's called the great horned owl? I'll give you a second to think about that. Great horned owl. Well, if you take a look at this picture here, you can see that this owl has got two little tufts of feathers on the top of its head. They're not horns like you might find on other types of animals. They're just little feather tufts, but it gives it a really iconic and noticeable look. So that's how it got its name, Great Horned Owl, because it looks like it has horns on the top of its head. But they are super, super interesting. In fact, owls are fascinating for a lot of reasons. I think they're really cool because of how well they can find and catch their food. And I think it's so cool that I'm going to share it with you. Owls are a type of nocturnal animal. I bet you know what nocturnal means. What do you think it means? They're awake at night, or they're active at night. Exactly. So owls are nocturnal, so they're going to be spending a lot of their active time eating, hunting, taking care of their young at night. So if you haven't seen one in your life yet, maybe you just have to wait till it's dark outside and you might hear it. What sound do owls make? Ooh, ooh. Right. You might hear it before you see it. You might look really, really closely up in trees. Maybe they might hang out in trees like this or other types of trees in your neighborhood. But they are going to be active at night and they're going to be looking for their food at night. So how do they do this? So if you were an owl, what senses do you think you would use to find your food? What I mean by senses is the five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch. Which senses do you think the owl would use to find its food? Well, they use a couple. They definitely use their sight and they use their hearing. They listen for sounds to find their food. We're going to walk through the process of how this owl can find their food. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to take you with me, and we are going to look at an owl right now. So right now I'm in the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. It is closed right now to the public, as a lot of our indoor spaces are, but I'm going to show you some things right now. There's a big picture of a great horned owl, but I'm going to take you with me and we're going to look at an owl up close. While I'm walking over there, what types of foods do you think owls eat? What might they be hunting for? Well, let's see. Check it out. Hopefully you can see that kind of clearly. This is a great horned owl. So we can kind of tell the size of it here. These are about, well, that's a big light right there. These are about 3 pounds, so they're pretty light, but their wingspan is pretty large. It can be up to 4.5 feet. So that's actually not too much shorter than I am. This is our horned owl. So what do you think that the great horned might hunt for? Maybe you were thinking mice, mice, or small rodents like rats or squirrels, moles or voles, all sorts of. Maybe they might even eat small birds from kind of eyesight to find them, and they're going to use their sense of hearing. Now, what I think is really cool about the great horned owl is that its ears are very unique. So a lot of people think that the horns on the top of its head are its ears, but that's just for show. It's just a little decoration. He has a cool hairdo, but its ears are actually down below on the side of its head. And we can't tell here, but they're just on the side of its head, and its ears are actually at different heights. So one might be, let's see, one might be up here, higher, one might be down here a little bit lower. Why their ears are at different heights? Well, it helps to have ears at different heights so that they can hear things from all around them. They can hear things all around them. And in fact, their hearing is so good that they are able to figure out the exact location of their prey using sound alone. So even if they can figure out exactly where it is just because their hearing is so good. And their eyesight is really good too. So once they know the location, they might start looking for it. They use their binocular eyes to try to find it. And then it's time to catch their prey. How do you think they catch their prey? Let me ask you a question. Let's see. Maybe they would use, or maybe their talons, their claws. Which one do you think has a stronger grip? Their beak or their talons? Which one is more deadly? If you said talons, you're correct. Their grip is so strong. It's even said to be as strong as a dog bite. Wow. Has an extremely strong grip. I'm going to go back outside where the lighting is better. But their talons are so strong. They grab their prey, they're swooping down, and they will grab it with their talons and fly away with it. Now, do you think that the great horned owl is going to be really noisy while he's trying to catch their prey? Do you think its prey will be able to hear the owl coming? I don't think so. I think the owl is probably super silent. And that's because it has a really special adaptation that helps it fly silently. It's a special feature of its wings that helps it fly without being heard. So that way its prey doesn't even know that it's coming. So I'm going to show you up close what that looks like. But I'll explain it a little bit to you. So usually when birds fly and they flap their wings, you can hear it if you are up close to it. So let's pretend our hand is a bird's wing. Most birds' wings look like this, where all the feathers are close together and it makes a straight edge. And let's fan it really close to our ear. Let's see. Can you hear that? Can you hear the wind being created from you fanning by your ear, kind of like you're flapping your wing? A lot of birds can make noise while they're flapping their wing, but the owl, it doesn't make sounds while it's flapping its wings, and that's because its wings and its feathers look kind of like this. It's fringed, or its feathers are separated. So this might be what it looks like. You have the wing up here on top, but check out those close-up images on the bottom. Check out the edges of those feathers. So here we have the top of the wing. It's got these little fringed parts. It's kind of like very small, fine hairs. Same thing with the bottom here. And this allows them to fly silently. The separation of those feathers, or it's kind of serrated, helps break up the wind and doesn't cause sound. So let's try that out. So we tried this one with our closed wing, like most other birds, and we could hear a lot of wind, right? Go ahead and separate your fingers and do the same thing. Could you hear any wind there? I didn't, at least not as much as there was with my closed wing. So these birds are able to fly completely silently just because of their special wings with their special feathers. Because I'm sure if I was a small rat or a squirrel and I saw an owl coming, or I heard an owl coming, I would definitely run away and hide. But they don't even get the chance to, because the owls are so sneaky and stealthy. So they've snuck up on their prey, they've flown really silently, they've grabbed them with their talons, their sharp gripped talons. Then what? Now they eat it, right? They eat their prey. And these owls eat their prey in a really interesting way. Do you think that these owls are going to be really picky? Maybe they're going to take just a few bites here and there? No, they have really bad table manners. They swallow their food whole. And let me show you what that looks like. Let me get a photo here. They swallow their food whole. So they gulp it down in their throat, bones and all, bones, fur, meat, everything. Wow, can you imagine that, eating your food in one big bite? I definitely couldn't do that. But these owls have special body parts that help them digest that food. But the problem is they only want to eat the meat, right? They don't want to eat the bones and the fur. That's kind of not good for them, right? So their body does something to get rid of that extra fur, that extra bones, those extra bones. Does anyone know what an owl does to get rid of that extra fur and bones that it doesn't want to digest? Might be a little bit gross. They cough it up. They throw it up. Something called an owl pellet. It's basically just a fancy word for owl throw up. Whoa. It's kind of like a cat coughing up a hairball. So their body digests and eats all the meat, but it can't digest the fur or the bones, so it coughs up something that looks like this, an owl pellet. Owl pellets are usually only about this big, maybe a couple inches, but this contains all the fur and the bones of the animal that it just ate. You might have even dissected one of these in school or at a summer science camp or somewhere. So if we were to dissect this, if we were to open it up, pull it apart, we would be able to tell exactly what this owl ate for dinner by looking at the bones. If we saw a skull that belonged to a rat, we would know. Maybe we might even see a bird skull with a beak. We would know exactly what it ate. So even though that seems kind of gross to be dissecting and going through an owl pellet, an owl throat, it's actually kind of cool for scientists because if they find these owl pellets, they're able to tell what this owl ate. So if I was a scientist here at Morro Bay State Park and I found an owl pellet on the ground, I would know a few things. I would know, one, there's owls here. Two, these owls are eating. They're not going hungry. Three, these owls are eating certain types of animals, which I would find out. So you would also know what other types of animals you might find in your park. So these owl pellets are really important for scientists and anyone who's interested in learning more about the owls in their area. Maybe you even see some of these owl pellets where you live. I will tell you one thing though. You should never touch an owl pellet with your bare hands because that's gross. It came from the owl's stomach. If you want to touch it, always wear gloves, wash your hands super thoroughly. It'd be pretty cool to look through it. And maybe you can figure out what is in your environment. You can also order these online too, and you'll get some clean, sterilized ones that you can dissect at home. But that is the process of how an owl finds, catches, and eats its prey. Can you imagine if that's how we found all our food? If we listened closely, tried to find something to eat, and then we swallowed it whole? Wow, pretty crazy. But that's how owls do it. I think it's very cool. Maybe next time you're awake at night, you can listen really closely, see if you can hear an owl's hooting sound. Maybe you can watch the trees, see it flying through the trees, trying to catch its prey. If you've seen an owl in your neighborhood, let us know. Post something in the comments. Tell us where you're from, where you saw your owl, if you saw it do anything cool. Maybe you've dissected an owl pellet before and you found something cool in your owl pellet. Let us know what you found. I'm going to sign off and say thank you so much for joining Castle to Coast Kids. This is our last week of virtual Junior Ranger programs. So we will have 2 more meetings together, one tomorrow and one on Thursday. And I believe tomorrow, Mariana will be talking to you about seabirds in Morro Bay. And on Thursday, just like every week, we'll be doing parks PE. So we're going to exercise at Hearst Castle and down here on the coast. So tune in on Facebook and our YouTube to join. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.